Hello, and thank you so much for joining me today for some thoughts from the Bible. You may have gathered by now if you've watched any of these videos, but I just absolutely love this book. You know, I love that I can read the same passage over and over and over again and still see something new in it, still have God reveal something new and surprising and amazing. I recently read a pretty well-known moment in the book of Mark, and it just blew me away when I saw it from a new perspective. So a large crowd of people was pressing around Jesus, and then this is what happened in Mark chapter 5 verses 25 to 29. A woman was there who had been subject to bleeding for 12 years. She had suffered a great deal under the care of many doctors and had spent all she had. Yet instead of getting better, she grew worse. When she heard about Jesus, she came up behind him in the crowd and touched his cloak, because she thought, if I just touch his clothes, I will be healed. Immediately, her bleeding stopped and she felt in her body that she was freed from her suffering. Wow, I mean, that's just an amazing, amazing display of the healing power of Jesus. And that is something that I absolutely 100% believe is still in operation today. But there is just so much more in this little story. And some of it comes from understanding the context of history in which this woman found herself. The book of Leviticus, which contained quite a lot of the law that the Jewish people were striving to live underneath, it explained that a woman would be unclean through the time of her monthly period, basically while she was bleeding. And here we have a woman who had been bleeding for 12 years of her life. So she had lived with the stigma, with the unpleasantness, with the horrible feeling that it must have been to be unclean for 12 long years. That is just, it's really, really hard to imagine even. She would have been unable to go near the temple of God. She would have had to have been constantly careful for years and years and years not to get too close to anybody else, because the things that she touched, the people that she touched, would have also become unclean. 12 years of feeling dirty, of feeling alone, of feeling ashamed. Every single penny that she had spent on trying to find a cure that it seemed didn't exist. It is hard to imagine how hard that time of her life must have been for her. So on the day in question, this woman, she should not have been anywhere near a crowd full of jostling people. And she certainly should not have been reaching out to intentionally touch somebody, knowing that it would make them unclean in the process. When Jesus called her out of the crowd after realizing what had happened, Mark tells us that she came and she fell at his feet and, trembling with fear, told him the whole truth. She was trembling with fear because she knew that what she was doing was not a good thing. Here she was approaching this astounding teacher that she'd been hearing about, this prophet, this man that people were saying in hushed tones could be the Messiah. And she was approaching him with the intention of making him unclean. She was terrified of what Jesus was going to say to her. And this is what suddenly dawned on me. What I found absolutely incredible in this story is that the woman's uncleanliness, it didn't transfer to Jesus. Instead, the instant that she reached out to touch him, she was completely cleansed. She was made wholly clean. It is just the most beautiful, beautiful picture. See, whatever shame, whatever sin, whatever sickness, whatever difficulties, whatever mistakes we've made, when we reach a trembling hand out to Jesus. Those things don't contaminate him. They just cannot survive next to his righteousness. Instead, he washes us clean. He removes the stain of our sin and our wrongdoing, and he makes it possible for us to enter into the presence of the most holy God. Everything that would separate us from God is wiped away. It simply cannot stand next to Jesus. When the woman's uncleanliness met Jesus' righteousness, it could not survive. When we bring those things to him, those things that we've done that we're not proud of, those things that kind of make us unclean, those things that separate us from the incredible holiness and pureness of God, when we bring those things to him, he doesn't put them to one side to deal with later, well, you're okay for now, but one day we're going to have to look at this stuff. He doesn't demand a list of good works from us to atone for our wrongdoings as penance for our mistakes. No, those things are wiped away. The guilt and the shame that we might feel from our actions, from the things that we have done wrong, they are removed. They cannot survive next to Jesus' righteousness. It is incredible. Anything at all that would seek to separate us from God is destroyed the instant we reach out for Jesus. And it doesn't mean that we don't have to deal with any consequences for those things while we're here on earth, because we may well do, but the weight of them, the guilt of them, the shame of it is wiped away. I don't know if I'm the only one here who finds that so exciting. Whatever there may be in your life that would keep you from coming to Jesus, even if it feels like it is too big to ever be dealt with, even if you're coming in fear and trembling, reaching out and not wanting to be seen and known for the things that have happened in your life, still come to Jesus, reach out for him, because a single touch of Jesus is enough. And just like that woman that we read about in Mark, your life will never, ever, ever, ever be the same again. Only come to Jesus. Reach out to him, touch the hem of his garment, and all uncleanliness will be washed clean in light of his righteousness. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'll be back with another video on Monday, so I will see you then.